was really taken aback, but truly, truly honored and just overwhelmed with a lot of emotions.
Inductees of the second class of the Lexington African American Sports Hall of Fame speaking about what it means to celebrate Lexington sports royalty.
It's a great honor. My father was inducted last year, so I'm teasing him now. I was like, hey, you're not the only one that gets to go into the Hall of Fame.
The inductees represent a wide variety of sports and time periods. Some of the earliest athletes honored helped to break barriers in sports for African Americans. And while many acknowledged their own accomplishments, the night was also about celebrating the accomplishments of the other inductees.
It means a lot to see a lot of these athletes is able to accomplish the goals, what everybody's trying to do.
While tonight was a celebration for all involved, for some inductees, it was a long-awaited homecoming to Lexington and a reunion with other athletes who have shaped the area.
So I created endless memories, and it's just always special to come home. It's like a family reunion. Coming here, it's like people, I was little. The last time I saw them was like 5 or 6 years old.
Despite this being only the second class of inductees, many in this year's class aim to pave the path for future generations of Lexington's African American athletes.
I want the children to see that if they dream big, work hard, and pray, and if it's God's will, that they can make it in a big man sport.
In Lexington, Jessica Umbro, WKYT.